Namaste, beloved. How are you? I have such a beautiful topic for you today to support you on your healing journey. And this is how to heal your inner blocks. This is something that I work with so deeply with my clients, and I wanted to give you a glimpse of what that journey looks like when I do take my clients on transformational inner healing journeys, so that you too can be empowered to use some of these sacred feminine tools to support yourself through whatever healing it is that you want to go through right now, and especially as that concerns inner blocks connected to your outer struggles. So if you don't know me, thank you so much for being here. And if you do know me, welcome back, my loves. My name is Syma, and I am a sacred feminine and spiritual coach, healer, and best-selling author of the books Goddess Reclaimed and Manifest Soulmate Love. And it's my blessing to support highly sensitive and soulful women all over the world in uncovering their greatest inner blocks and transforming and healing them, and then manifesting their beautiful, most bold dreams and really becoming flourishing goddesses in every way. You can find me at flourishinggoddess.com. What I want to share with you today is sacred feminine goddess archetypes that can support you in uncovering and healing and transforming your own inner blocks. So when I talk about inner blocks, first, it's important to know what does this mean, right? And these can manifest for us on many different levels. So this can be mental, emotional, energetic, but really what we're looking at is that layer beneath the conscious awareness. And this is where some of these goddesses that I will be introducing you to can really support you. I don't know if they'll flow in terms of like a step-by-step process or journey. We'll sort of go with the flow and see what messages come through and how they want to support you. So one of the goddesses I would love to introduce you to, her name is Persephone. She is an ancient Greek goddess of, interestingly, both the maiden of spring as well as the queen of the underworld. And Persephone, she is our ally. And you can think of goddesses as archetypes or as your own Shakti, your own sacred feminine power, whether you're male or female, or however you identify. We all have access to these psychological archetypes and powers and allies or energetic gifts. So just connect with them however you most resonate with them. But Persephone is that part of us that can support us in delving deep into the underworld of our unconscious. So what does the underworld mean? The underworld is a metaphor for your own unconscious, that dark inner world where, just like when she is abducted and taken into the underworld initially, we face our inner ghosts. So she is the guide of the ghosts and the souls of the underworld. So one of the first steps, my love, in healing our inner blocks is having the courage to take that descent. And sometimes what happens is life abducts us, just as Persephone was abducted by Hades, the god of the underworld, into this shadow side of ourselves. And this can happen through life circumstances, right? If we experience a trauma or a tragedy or a hardship that abducts and thrusts us into maybe a depression or a time of grief or sadness and pain and loss, this is where life is pushing us down into that underworld. And what this really does, just like Persephone, who rises as its queen, and she goes from being this naive, sheltered maiden and then being in this underworld, but then ends up guiding and being this very gracious hostess of the souls in this dark world, we are given this opportunity then to face our own inner ghosts, or that soul, the psyche part of us, which flows right into the next goddess that's your ally in healing your inner blocks, which is Psyche, also another Greek goddess. And her journey is that she's not originally a goddess. She ascends to goddesshood by the grace of the goddess of love, Aphrodite, after completing some impossible tasks given to her by the goddess Aphrodite in order for her to unite with Cupid, her beloved. And what this journey shows us is that we must have the courage to delve into that shadow work, the underworld of our own unconscious, where those lost part of ourselves, those fragmented parts of our own psyche. Psyche is soul, unconscious, and these goddesses help us to face that part of ourselves. So once we take that descent, whether life has made us enter it and initiate us into it, or it's of our own choosing, we are consciously deciding that I want to do this unconscious work, this healing work, then Psyche supports us in facing what happened, right? So when I work with my clients, we do this work through guided meditations and spiritual journeys that are very, very deep and transformational. And I also take clients through this, my students through this in my online goddess circles. I don't have one with Psyche, but I do have one with Persephone. And my love, I invite you to consider how you could go about delving into this. So one of the first tips that I have for you, and a practical thing that you can do in your home, is create a sacred, safe space for yourself. So maybe this is your meditation area, and if you don't have one already, carving out in your place a nook, a space that just makes you feel very, very safe. And whatever your faith or orientation, maybe having some symbols of that. If you're don't subscribe to any faiths, then maybe just lighting a candle. So however you can make this space sacred and supportive, and a place that helps you feel grounded, and where you will have, on a practical level, just that privacy to do this inner healing work. That will be really, really wonderful as just a first step once you decide that I'm going to go and take this descent into the underworld, and I'm ready to face my inner blocks, those things that are really sabotaging my outer efforts, my manifestations, my desires. How am I getting in the way of the things that I desire and I'm working towards or co-creating with the divine? What is coming up for me on the inside that I can look at and heal? So create some beautiful, nurturing, lovely space for yourself in your home, in your room, so that you can create a ritual around this work. Okay, my love? And then another goddess that's very interestingly, I have so many decks, oracle decks and goddess decks, and I can't find her in any of my decks. So if you know one, let me know. But the next goddess is Nephthys. The closest card I found that sort of represents her is this one with actually her sister Isis. I have done a goddess circle with the goddess Nephthys, which is very potent because I had just visited her temples in Egypt. But Nephthys is Isis, as a goddess of 10,000 names, the ancient Egyptian goddess, is more associated with life and creation, although she is also a goddess of grief. Her tears flood the Nile River when she sheds them over her grief over her beloved Osiris. But her sister Nephthys is also a goddess of death and the underworld and death right. So Nephthys teaches us, supports us in seeing how we can face that part of us that needs to shed, that we need to grieve, that we need to process in order for it to really be healed and acknowledged and honored in a way that maybe it never had a chance to. So this could be a trauma or a significant, painful life event from our childhood or from our past, where we just sort of bury that. And Nephthys, as the goddess of death rites and ceremony, says that it's really important for us to heal through that, through sacred ceremony, and grieve it and face it and honor it, so that that part of us is given that witnessing, and again, just really, really honoring what we've gone through and giving it space, grieving it, and doing some kind of prayer, ritual, ceremony to say that happened, and I am going to honor that experience and really face it for what it was. And then to support you with that as well, in my book Goddess Reclaimed, one of the very first goddesses that you meet, this is the second initiation, is Ereshkigal with her sister Inanna. So Ereshkigal is another goddess of death and the underworld, and she invites us to grieve, right? To really grieve what happened to us. And like all these goddesses take us to the underworld, and they help us to descend, uncover what happened. Was this from my childhood? Was this from a recent life experience? Where does this maybe outer block that I'm experiencing in my life? So for example, let's say you're wanting to manifest your soulmate, or you're wanting to manifest more abundance and financial support for yourself, or a baby, or a dream home, or an opportunity, and you're just finding a lot of strife and struggle, and you begin to do this inner healing work, and you go down into the underworld to face what happened. Where does this stem from? Where is this rooted? And maybe it roots back to an experience you had in your childhood, right? So uncovering what happened, and then most importantly, understanding that it's not so much what happened, but how we internalized what happened. And usually what happens, especially when these experiences stem from early childhood, is as children we are so pure and we take on everything as ours. We don't know how to discern and separate that this was not me, this was about my parents or my teachers or my friends. We can't separate that, so we make everything about us, and we internalize that. And I can tell you my loves from my own journey and helping thousands of clients over all these years of my practice. No matter what we're struggling with on the outside, once we begin to do this inner healing work, there's always one or two core inner healing, core beliefs and wounds that come up. And this is always, I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve, I'm not good enough. And it comes down to our disconnect or struggle with truly feeling worthy and enough. And from that place, our inability to have really cultivated a healthy sense of self-love and self-esteem and self-confidence and self-empowerment and self-worth and self-value, right? So what these goddesses can help us with is face where that disconnect happened, where was the initial wound, and then help us to find ways to grieve that. So again, when I work with my clients, I hold space for them and take them through these healing journeys, but I want to give you a tool that you can use on your own. If you're comfortable meditating with these goddesses on your own, you're absolutely welcome to do that. But if you want a more practical tip, what I would recommend is journaling, where you can ask yourself these questions, reflective questions, maybe follow your intuition and see what comes up for you, what kind of prompts would best support you in uncovering your unconscious blocks. So for example, it's if you want to manifest soulmate love, which is one of my signature or primary offerings that I take my clients through, asking yourself, what am I afraid of when it comes to being loved or receiving the love that I desire or having my divine right partner or soulmate? And then letting your hand just flow and journaling without thinking about it. So even get into this meditative and really relaxed state. So when you've created that space for yourself, maybe meditate, focus on your breath, get really relaxed first, and then ask yourself this question and begin to write out whatever's coming. And this is where you actually can begin through this free form writing process to tap into your unconscious blocks. And as you keep digging further and further and further and going deeper and deeper and deeper, you will usually find that what you're most afraid of, your deepest fear, has to do around not feeling enough or worthy enough, or being afraid of abandonment or rejection and having these fears. But even fears around abandonment or rejection, they stem from feeling like I'm not enough. So I'll be abandoned or rejected or unsupported, or I won't get what I want, or I'm not safe. So that was one that came up for me in my own personal healing journey, and it made perfect sense because I had so much abuse and trauma in my childhood that I needed to uncover this feeling of unworthiness, as well as learning that deep down my inner child didn't feel safe, which is a very natural response when you have so much abuse and sexual abuse from other people, and then physical and emotional abuse from my parents, and specifically my father. So my inner child felt very, very scared and unworthy. And so this healing work was, as one of the things that I did for myself, was so monumental in helping me to connect those dots of where some of my outer struggles were coming from. So one place in my life this was in my job situations where I kept attracting bosses that were very much like my father, abusive, just really toxic, and I kept trying to forgive them, right? And so those of us who are empaths and healers and light workers and priestesses, we're always thinking, what's my soul lesson? I can bless and forgive. And we just want to be so filled with love and compassion for everyone. But what I actually learned, and this was like 3 toxic bosses in a row, where finally I had to learn through this kind of inner healing work that I actually have to step into my power and my authority. And I have to make sure that my inner child feels safe and secure and worthy and valued. And by going back to that root, and by the way, there was also a lot of karmic healing work that was involved, but I'll save that for an entirely other video, because this inner blocks, I'm referring more to the unconscious, right? So in my journey, that was one struggle that I had that once I overcame, and it helped me to not only come into my power, but then become my own boss. And I'm a very nice boss to myself, right? So I not only broke free of that pattern of toxic authority figures, but I claimed my own authority, and now I live from a deeply empowered and loving space, right? So that's like divine feminine, sacred leadership, heart-centered leadership, and being in your power in a way that serves. And it's just so beautiful to go through that journey. And this is just one aspect of my life, as I want to give you an example. But for myself and my clients, no matter what it is you're desiring on the outside, or some kind of pattern that keeps coming up for you, and wherever you're feeling this block come up, my love, if you take that courageous journey to go into the underworld and uncover what is this really rooted to, and then you see it, you face it, you feel it fully. And that's the part that is so important. One of the essential healing parts, my love, is feeling the full depth of grief or loss or shame or fear or those dark shadow emotions. So I'm not sure if I have a video on shadow work. I'll look through my videos, and if I don't, I will definitely make one for you. But basically it would involve a lot of these same goddesses where we're facing our shadow. And my other goddess circles, Persephone, I think we have done Nephthys, and some other goddesses where we have done a lot of the shadow work. So I want you to consider how powerful that will be for you, to face that most wounded, afraid part of yourself, whether she is your inner child or you more recently, or even you right now. Right, this manifestation or form of your fear, and she's just holding on to all of this because she is afraid or she doesn't feel worthy. You must grieve for her. And the goddess Ereshkigal, she only lets Inanna, who is her sister, queen of heaven and earth, free from the underworld once their Enti, Inanna's father, has sent forth 2 creatures. That this whole myth is in my book Goddess Reclaimed, but these 2 creatures that grieve with Ereshkigal when Ereshkigal is in her time of grief, grieving over the death of her husband. And they just offer her unconditional witnessing, and they cry with her, and they empathize with her. So we have to offer ourselves that deep, deep, unconditional love, compassion, and empathy, and acceptance, and witnessing, and support, becoming our own lovely healer and therapist, where we're just so kind and sweet and strong for ourselves, holding space for ourselves. So when we allow ourselves to fully feel that, then we can open to the grace of healing. And this is where Kuan Yin, the goddess, can come in. The Eastern Buddhist goddess Kuan Yin comes in to only after we have felt everything. And I also have Kuan Yin here in my book, and I believe she comes shortly after the journey with Inanna and Ereshkigal, so that you are coming to a place of forgiveness and learning the lesson that you were meant to learn from that experience. I'm just trying to find her initiation for you so you can see another version of her. So here's our beautiful Kuan Yin. And the initiation in my book is called Rising as the Lotus, Kuan Yin, Goddess of Compassion. So Kuan Yin is also connected to this unconditional compassion that I was speaking of, is that first and foremost, we must offer ourselves this unconditional compassion. And when we're able to do that, it's like our heart and all that darkness, the lotus rises from the darkness of no matter what it is we went through, no matter what happened to us. And then the lotus also represents the truth of who you really are, right? The truth is that you are inherently worthy. You are infinitely valued. You are eternally loved by the divine, by your creator. And your soul knows this. Your true divine inner psyche knows this. And so then the healing becomes, who am I? If I've healed, I've faced, I've given myself space to feel all of this, to face all of it, to grieve all of it, and now what? So now is the lesson of what is true. What is my divine truth? And so for this, again, my loves, I work with my clients one-on-one, but I invite you to consider, if you want to do this work on your own, how you can journal this. Who am I? What is the truth of who I am? What is a lesson and blessing and spiritual message and grace from this experience? And then as you embrace the higher soul lesson and purpose of that whole experience, then we get to the goddess Sedna. So here's a picture of Sedna. Sedna is the Inuit goddess of the sea and all its creatures, and she's also, the ocean is also a metaphor for the underworld and the unconscious. So she sits at its base. So this is again the base, the very, very bottom of your unconscious. But from there, Sedna is the mother of all the sea creatures. And this sustains the Inuit people. It gives them life and sustenance. So she's also associated with sustenance and abundance. And what this is once we have learned that lesson, we must then transform and reset and reprogram and repattern in alignment with the truth of who you are to set free this new life, this new abundance, right? Whether these metaphors are the lotus or, Sedna becoming the mother of the sea creatures in abundance through her own descent into the underworld and her actual death and rebirth, and then Psyche ascends to the level of goddesshood. Persephone comes as out of the queen of the underworld into the maiden goddess of the spring and fertility and beauty and new life and flowers. So then we must reset and reprogram in alignment with the truth of who you are. That you are safe, that you are worthy, that you are good enough, that good things can happen for you just because of who you are, a divine child of this beautiful, loving universe, the divine creator. And if you don't want to connect with the divine even, that's perfectly okay. You can connect with it however you feel good, if that feels like the universe or, whatever works best for you. But the most important thing is to reset in alignment with who you actually and truly are. And you are inherently worthy. You are eternally good enough, right? And you're safe, you're protected, you're guided, and you're blessed, and you're loved. And so then once we reset them, then we are going from the underworld, we've gone to its very base, up and transformed and come out on the other side. And so many of these goddesses too, they go on this journey of delving into the unconscious, facing those inner wounds and fears or souls or fragmented parts of our psyche. And again, there's so many metaphors from the goddesses I've shared with you, healing them, honoring them with those rites and ceremonies, receiving the grace, the blessing, the lesson, the teaching for our soul's evolution. And I don't even like to say ascension like in a linear way, because I feel like this journey is always cyclical. So it's more about just this enriching our soul journey, right? And deepening into it and receiving these gifts and this growth so that we can live with deeper compassion, with deeper passion, with deeper grace, with deeper love and reverence and humility and power and all of this in our human experience and adventure that we are on. And I hope this supports you, my love. I do have a goddess circle on Kuan Yin. I have one coming up with the Goddess Sedna this November, so when I'm making this video live. And what my goddess circles are online, usually maybe sometimes an hour. They're supposed to be an hour, but they tend to go about 2 hours. And I go much deeper into each goddess. We have a theme, and I take you through a guided healing, initiation, meditation, healing journey. And we do a lot of other beautiful goddess ceremonies. So you can find all my goddess circles at flourishinggoddessschool.com with these and other goddesses, if you feel called to go deeper with them and do some of this healing work. And regardless, I hope that the practice of creating that sacred space for yourself and journaling all of this and journaling and journeying through your journaling will be very supportive to you, right? So in your journal, giving yourself those prompts, just freely writing everything out of what happened, what you went through, and facing those deep, dark, shadow emotions, those griefs, those wounds, and then asking for the grace, the lesson, the blessing, and knowing that that is the truth of who you are, and then beginning to embody those and live from those, right? And maybe using other practices that will support you in really knowing that that is who I am, and then maybe ceremoniously burning and releasing the old stories, right? The old griefs, those parts that could be like one of your death rite ceremonies inspired by the Goddess Nephthys. So I hope these practices and these teachings support you, inspire you, and empower you on your own healing journey, because I can tell you, my loves, in my own life, I continue to use these practices. There's always some kind of initiation. Life is bringing us some kind of challenge on the outside to help us to know ourselves more, heal ourselves deeper, love ourselves better, empower ourselves further on our life journey. And these practices really support me. They really transform my clients, and I really pray that they empower you so much. So let me know in the comments which goddess you really felt called to work most deeply with, which that you feel would most support you, or which process connected to the goddess you feel will really support you. And please share your journey with me. We're all here to support you. This is such a beautiful, loving community of priestesses and healers and empaths that we call into the Flourishing Goddess community. And please subscribe to my channel so that we can all stay connected and support each other through this journey, my love. So thank you so much for just being a part of this. And I would love to give you some more free gifts. So if you come onto my website, flourishinggoddess.com, that's where when you sign up for my newsletter, you instantly get a beautiful chakra goddess meditation with 14 goddesses where we work through your energy centers and just do some deep healing work, but also really help you to get into your goddess power and Shakti and awaken your feminine gifts. So please come and receive that from me. And then there's a couple of 3-part video trainings where I delve deeper into the goddesses with you that are completely free as my gift for joining our beautiful Flourishing Goddess Sisterhood. So I would so love for you to be part of that. And I look forward to seeing your comments. Thank you so much for liking and for sharing, for subscribing, for visiting me at flourishinggoddess.com. Thank you so much for all of you who leave comments that you bought my book and that you love it. That means the world to me. My greatest prayer was that this book itself would take you on a whole journey, and it does. And if you want to go, this can be another ally and guide for you, my love, because we go through 13 goddess initiations in the book, and this is modeled after my one-on-one coaching program that I feel like one day will turn into an online course as well, so more people can access it. But I just thank you so much for being part of the Flourishing Goddess community, and I am so blessed to support you, and I really hope that this video did support you. So thank you so much. I can't wait to see your comments, and I love you, and you are so powerful. You are so capable of healing your inner blocks so that you can welcome inner and outer miracles in every way, in every part of your life. Namaste, beloved.